everybody, and welcome to another episode of Milena's Music. And we used to have a live performance in the house, as it is today. And we have Sebastian, who's gonna sing the Jogger.
Well, I've been a trucker for 20 years, from the Charlton coast to the Jersey pier, sharing the road with race car nuts and loggers. Sunday driver scouts on hikes, Hell's Angels on Harley bikes. I never met a roader I didn't like except them joggers. One day I was rolling down 101. I got 18 wheels and 14 tons, radio playing a good old country rocker. Well, the day was sure a trucker's dream. The sky was sunny and the air was clean, when up ahead on the road I seen one of them joggers. Well, they dressed like they do in baby blue, with shorty shorts and a headband too. I said, hey Queenie, I bet that you're the head of the men's room locker, but I'm running late with an overload, so get your Adidas off of this road, 'cause I'm LA bound and I don't slow down for dead raccoons or joggers. So without losing stride or breaking poise, he said, you and that rickshaw make some noise, but I can't talk now 'cause I'm racing against the clocker. But it's just 9 miles to Forker's Leap, so if you ain't afraid to race that heat, we'll see how that old rig of yours does against a super jogger. Race? I must be hearing wrong. The boy's been running in the sun too long. The only place he's racing to is the doctor's. But before I can say thank you, no, that fool yells ready, get set, go. Then the race is on and we're off and gone, me and this maniac jogger. Well, I could have left him far behind, played with him like a fish in a line, so I stayed about half a mile behind that sucker. Well, I'm doing about 45, and he sees me coming and he starts to fly, so I push it to 60 and I shift to high, and I finally catch that jogger, and it wasn't easy. Well, I'm doing 80 and I turn to check, and he's staying right with me neck and neck. His heart's a thumping like my engine going vroom, 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 vroom. And then he says, I hope you're set, 'cause I ain't shifted into second yet. Then he unwinds and leaves me behind, eating the dust of a jogger. Then I seen him jogging into the sky. He said, thank you, son, for the exercise, and I hope that losing the race was not too shocking. You see, my daddy says heaven's no place to run, and I try to be an obedient son, so I gotta come down to earth to do my jogging. Well, that's my story, take it or leave it. My trucker buddies, they believe it. So do those race car nuts and Harley hoggers. When me, I'm still driving quite the same, except now I don't call nobody names, and I tip my hat each time I pass one of them good old joggers. Here comes one now. Hey, good buddy, how you doing? Want some Gatorade? Well, keep on jogging, it's good for you.
Okay, we're gonna talk to Sebastian right after these messages, so don't go away. These are the messages. Sebastian, I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Yes, and if you can tell me, you've been playing today for us solo here, and you told me earlier that you do have a band.
Well, yeah. Well, usually we perform. There's 4 of us, and it's basically the same thing we do, and only it's a lot louder and noisier and has more of a beat, and people can dance to it instead of just having to listen to me yap away all the time.
Yeah, it's a different kind of energy.
Oh, totally.
Yeah,
yeah, it's very high energy.
And where do you perform? Do you perform?
Oh, we perform everywhere. I'm from the Horseshoe, the Bamboo, and we tour across the country.
Yeah. That's. Do you tour? Are you planning a tour?
We're recording a new CD now, which should be out by September, and then we're planning on a cross-Canada tour then.
Mm-hmm. And you told me earlier that you also have a studio of your own.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I produce other people.
How did you get into the business at all at the beginning?
Well, I wasn't equipped to do anything else. I mean, I can't drive, so I can't drive a cab. And I quit school when I was in grade 9, so I don't have an education. So I'm not equipped to do anything except play guitar, and you don't need an education for that. So I get away with it.
You were very young, though, right? 15?
Yeah, well, in those days, they let you get out of school early.
Oh, yeah.
You just got to claim poverty, and I had to get a note saying that, our family needed the money, and I was picking up extra money that way, and it just snowballed from there.
And how did you get an interest into studio recording?
Well, since day one, obviously, didn't have big record companies coming and offering you millions of dollars to record. So we'd rent small studios, and we'd have to produce it ourselves. And just by learning the tricks, eventually I realized that it's cheaper to buy your own equipment and do it yourself than spending $100 or $200 an hour recording. And read a lot of manuals and figured out how to do it. And then the rest is just basically using your ears.
Yeah. And do you find the change in the music status in Canada from the days you began and up to this point?
Oh, yeah. Now it's a real business. Then we really didn't have much of an industry. There's only, I guess only one trade paper, which would have been RPM in those days. And you're basically on your own. Nowadays, obviously, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, so it used to be more fun before, I think. Now it's just become too business, and I think the music takes, a secondary role.
Do you feel like there's a certain kind of a cliche due to that corruption or the huge business that music is involved, that the Canadian music is all about right now?
Well, I think it has to do with a lot of the people in our industry now are usually ex-musicians that couldn't make a living at it, so they all got industry jobs, and those same people now are controlling what goes on. So obviously, what they seem to be doing is say, okay, well, Nirvana's really big right now, so let's go sign 10 Nirvanas, and one of them will stick. Or Nine Inch Nails is really hip right now, so let's go find ourselves 9 or 10 Nine Inch Nails and see which one works. But nobody's using their imaginations. Meanwhile, in the basements and everywhere in the small clubs all over the country, there's brilliant musicians that are out there struggling for $50 a night, making it go, and more power to them.
That's right. So basically, the best thing to do is just perform and do your music the way you just
do it
want.
yourself. Just go out and get your own gigs, do your own promotion, put out your own independent records, and and once you've done all the hard work, some guy in a suit will come along and say, "Oh, gee, here, we'll take it over from here, hopefully,
Yeah.
And then you can tell them to hit the road, or if you've already had enough success.
Okay. Would you like to perform another song for us?
Sure.
Okay, it's going to be Doctor's Lament.
Well, hey, Mr. Premier, won't you please withdraw your bill? 'Cause what you're doing to health care is bound to make us ill. But you've got lots of money, you can afford to go to the States. But it'll be us poor suckers who'll be paying for your mistake. Well, hey, Mr. Premier, won't you please withdraw your act? Well, don't do anything foolish till you get all the facts. Now, we know that some doctors are rich and some are even fat, but they're the only ones that can save our lives, so give them credit for that. Well, hey, Mr. Premier, use some integrity. Don't act like a jerk, leave that to the NDP. And if they don't like it, they got no bite, they're only barks. Just call a snap election, leave the meat in the dust of marks. Well, hey, Mr. Premier, if you ain't got much to do, well, you finished with a doctor, so why don't you legislate lawyers too? Well, of course, a bill like that probably wouldn't pass, 'cause lawyers become politicians, so you're covering your own ass. Well, hey, Mr. Premier, won't you please withdraw your bill? 'Cause what you're doing to healthcare is bound to make us ill. But you've got lots of money, you can afford to go to the States. But it'll be us poor suckers who'll be paying for your mistake.
I'll be back right after these messages. Okay, everybody, we're back. We're chatting here with Sebastian. And previously we talked about the current state of music in Canada, Canadian business. I wanted to ask you, do you have any favorite current bands or producers?
Oh, yeah. My favorites are Canadians, believe it or not.
Canadians.
There's a fellow named Curtis Dreger, who's just a brilliant singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist. He lives in Peterborough on a farm, and nobody ever hears about him. Joe Hall, brilliant musician, satirist. They're about my two favorites right now.
So it's more of a individual, independent kind of music producing, or it's very... It's out of the cliche that we are.
It's very individualistic.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not big on these so-called manufactured bands. You know, and it seems now everybody says, "Oh, let's start a band." You know, okay, well, my hero is Rush, so we're gonna try to sound like Rush, or my hero is so and so. And whereas the individual songwriters, you know, they start with an idea, with a song, and then usually find the musicians around to make that idea, you know, come to life. You know, so it usually starts with a song with me. Like, so the songwriter obviously is the most important thing.
So you are introduced into the nightclub scene in Canada, because I take that a lot of musicians do work and play in clubs.
Oh, sure. That's our bread and butter, is go to the clubs, you know.
Yeah, you could find it much more colorful or exciting.
Yeah, very
That's
colorful.
right.
Just dodge beer bottles sometimes. And depends on where you go. No, it's very good. That's where you'll find most musicians. I mean, it's very rare where the band will have, you know, a big budget and they get to sit in the basement or in a nice rehearsal studio for 6 months, and then all of a sudden they go out on concert tours. It really doesn't happen that way.
There's a difference in USA, especially if they find a talent, or I don't know, big production houses, Quincy Jones and those humongous.
Right, Don Was. And
That's right.
Yeah. Well, I think they take more chances in the States. They're not afraid to experiment. Here, we're, believe it or not, even though we always vote liberal, we tend to be very conservative in our taste.
Yeah, that's
and whereas
true.
the Americans, they'll see some 13-year-old kid smashing on a guitar, and they say, "Oh, well, that kid's got, you know, he's got potential. When he's 25, he's going to be a superstar." So they don't mind taking a chance on it.
Why is that?
They're more open-minded. Don't forget, here, you know, we're pretty spoiled here. Like, you know, we get to see everybody at a decent price. We are, and so we don't take any risks. Whereas the Americans, they don't think about, we're comfortable today. They're always thinking like 5 years in the future. Who's going to be the next Madonna? Who's going to be the next Michael Jackson? So they're not afraid to take chances. Whereas here, we're penny pinching basically.
Which atmosphere would you prefer to be in?
Well, I've had
as a motivation.
I like the American attitude,
yeah.
but I would never move there. You know, I've never moved. I've had chances up.
It's a hard game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we had, I almost moved to Nashville once, and I almost moved to LA, and then in the second thought I said, why? You know, if I got to work down there, you know, flights are cheap nowadays.
So you do plan to travel a lot down?
Oh, we've done a lot of traveling. I've been around the globe a couple of times already, and plan to do a lot more. It's not over yet. Well,
traveling and music, it does go together.
It sure does. I love hotel rooms.
Okay, I wish you a lot of luck.
Thank you.
And please, you're going to perform Lenny Bruce, one of your idols?
Yes,
I
one of my idols.
presume.
Okay. And
Okay,
thanks for
please.
having me. We'll see you soon.
You're welcome. Sebastian.
Crooks in the government, governments are crooks. They shuffle the deck and cook all the books. When they get in power, they change the rules again to make them apply to everybody else but them. You voted them in, I won't take the rap. As you cry in your wallet, you feel like a sap, and you know they're preparing the noose. Just ask Lenny Bruce. Doctors want more, people get less. Garbage crisis, the streets are a mess. Not in my backyard, that's what I find. Put it somewhere else, out of sight, out of mind. Where's that ray of sunshine you swore would come at last? Well, I met Ray, and he was more like an atomic blast. And you know they've cooked your goose. Just ask Lenny Bruce. In one hand's a poison mushroom, the other a poison pill. And they blindfold your eyes and say, take what you will. And then they force you to choose. Just like Lenny Bruce. Political stripes of every shade. When they get elected, they got it made. Spending our money like it grew on trees. Who's gonna pay it back? Of course, you and me. Politicians, from locals to the feds, where'd they get their brains at? Honest ads? Their power we must reduce. Just ask Lenny Bruce. In one hand they dangle a carrot, the other they got a noose. And they say, try this on for size, we hope it's not too loose. And you know, you can't refuse. Just ask Lenny Bruce.
Okay, everybody, stay cool and make sure to stay tuned in the next episode of Milena's Music. Bye-bye.
Great.
I lost my mind.